Our long-term vision is a few things. Number one, we think what looks like a traditional healthcare company will look a lot more like a product company in the future, that product being healthcare services. You've seen that trend happen in a bunch of different industries. So the biggest retailer is Amazon. They also have, the world's best cloud application layer. The biggest media company is YouTube. They are actually a technology company under the hood. Same with Netflix. So, having technology as a core part of your DNA will be a big change that we see a lot of healthcare systems going through. So our long-term vision is, all these health systems are going to become much more technology companies, and technology will be a key muscle, just like the same way clinical quality, operational excellence is today. And so our technology roadmap, our technology vision is all around how do we enable health systems to make that transition as seamlessly as possible, and do so in a way that makes that change management also simple for them, because it is a tough transition. So that's number one. That's kind of a little bit about the long-term vision, that these will become product companies with key ideas around technology, design, things like that. Our technology roadmap is all about how do we enable this. And so what it looks like in our technology architecture is all about essentially giving these systems the right abstractions to allow them to become technology builders themselves. What does that mean under the hood? We have a heavy emphasis on our data application layer. We think, number one, when you become a product technology company, the key thing that all these companies get right is excellence on the data layer. Everything from having it all unified in one schema, having great pipelines with no data loss, having easy to understand schematics that anyone can use. So that's number one. We really believe that having a really excellent data abstraction layer is like the foundation of a good technology business, and we've invested a lot there. The second is, if you really want to enable these companies to become technology companies, they need to have multiple solutions they can develop quickly on this underlying data application layer. So the second piece of our architecture is all about making it super seamless to connect different applications on top of your underlying data layer, right? And you can see how modern software has done that. Like in the open source world, everyone knows how to play on top of Postgres. Everyone knows how to deploy on top of Linux. In the same way, we're designing all our data abstractions to make it such that health systems can easily deploy either our applications like ambient patient experience, Strongline, or their applications on top of our underlying data architecture so that they can enable that. The last piece is customization. We strongly believe that software will become so cheap, so easy to access that everyone's going to want their own type of software. And so a large part of our system is designed to be heavily configurable, such that you're not just getting what's off the shelf, you can configure it how you need to. And beyond that, it's not that you have to hire now a team of, let's say 1,000 Commure developers to do what you want. It's actually all using the latest LLMs such that you can write in human language what you want your software to do, and it'll start doing more and more of that. That's what you're seeing in a lot of the engineering world itself. Most of engineering and coding is actually people writing with these software development applications that deliver high quality code. That needs to be exposed into health systems, as in health systems need to be able to, talk in natural language and get high quality software applications out, and everything we're designing is towards that end vision. So, a quick TLDR on your question. One, we believe that what looks like a health system today will look a lot more like a technology company tomorrow. And everything we do is giving you great developer tooling, everything from the data layer to the application layer, to help you make that transition without having to now go and hire, 1,000 programmers from Stanford or whatever that might be. The big difference in healthcare compared to other industries is the safety margin has to be really large, and the margin for error is really low. That's the way we almost think about it is like the auto industry times 10 of like how high quality things have to be by the time they reach the enterprise. Now that creates an inherent dilemma, which is the way most software is made today is high iteration speed, make mistakes, quickly develop on them and get something better. And that leads to a high quality product over time. But in a world where you can't make mistakes, how do you actually do that iteration? What we found is that, actually having small test kitchens, having these simulation environments, working with smaller practices allows us to refine and perfect software that we can then take to the enterprise. And that's exactly how we're designed. So Commure is actually, two different businesses in one focused on the mid-market, working with a lot of small practices, and the second working with the largest health system in the country. Now, these small practices enable us to do cutting edge work. They're almost like development labs and research settings for us, where they co-develop, they want to take risks, they have really interesting use cases, and they move really, really fast. And so we perfect everything with them and then take that same technology up to the biggest health system in the world. That's how our ambient was developed. That's how our revenue cycle was developed. That's how our patient experience tools were developed. And we think that's what a perfect company in healthcare is going to look like. You're not just going to go straight to a health system and say, hey, we're going to co-develop something with you, because that iteration cycle is going to take like 5 years, right? So that's number one. We actually have this beautiful iteration loop with smaller customers that allows us to perfect everything. Second thing is a heavy emphasis on quality throughout the company. As in, I think too much healthcare software and healthcare technology is crummy. It wouldn't last a day in any other industry. And it's because I think the quality orientation isn't there. And so a key part of our DNA, from every little detail of how we write our software, how we test it, how we QA, how we do our documentation, all of that is like very, very rigorous and heavy attention to detail, so that when we go to the enterprise, ideally we've been way more detail oriented than them. And what they're seeing is just something that's above their own bars in terms of quality and perfection. So I think culturally that's something we have to do. It's less of a technology strategy, more of a cultural strategy. But you've seen that happen in almost every other industry. Like the reason we're all using Apple phones is because Apple as a culture is so meticulous that every detail they've thought about before the end customers do. And it's almost fanatical in the level they take it. That's the same approach we're trying to take in healthcare, where we are going to be so crazy detail oriented that by the time our health system customers see our products, it's really, really meticulous to their eye also. Yeah, I would say what makes our platform really unique is, number one, we are purpose built for many different applications within a health system. We're not just trying to do one thing super well. So we're not just an ambient company. We're not just a patient experience company. We're not just a RTLS company. We are purpose built to do all the range of things that a health system does, and that completely changes how we design and develop internally. Everything is built for common abstractions that are repeating the same kind of schemas across the board, and unifying everything in one data model. That's super important in healthcare. I think the biggest problem that health systems face is what looks like one patient in, let's say, their ERP looks like a different patient in Salesforce, looks like a different patient in Epic, and now you really can't do anything interesting with that data. So from the ground up, because we are a multi-application company, kind of just like Apple centralized everything in iCloud, and they have a similar abstraction across the phones and the laptops, etc. We have the exact same abstractions for our ambient, our patient experience, our RTLS products, and more. And so that helps us make sure that when we go to health systems, we're actually bringing simplicity. We're not bringing more complexity in different types of data architectures. The next big thing is, we strongly believe that software has to be purpose designed for healthcare. Healthcare is just so wildly complex. It's almost this language and system that's been developed after years, 50 to 100 years of crazy iteration without clear design and direction. And so things that are designed for another industry just don't work in healthcare. You have to understand this, everything from the standards, HL7, FHIR, and more, to how clinicians use it, to how the health systems themselves operate, have to be purpose-built for healthcare. And that's the only way you make technology stick. You've seen again and again that technology that's not designed for healthcare just has a hard time making its way in. So we've simplified our life and said, we are not a general purpose software company. We are a software company focused on healthcare with the same level of knowledge and awareness that clinicians have for their health system, we have for their products and their use cases. So I think the TLDR on what makes us different, what makes our software design and deployment process different is, number one, we're really purpose designed for healthcare. Like everything we live and breathe is for healthcare. We don't care what's happening in other industries, and we want our healthcare customers to have something that feels like it was thought for them from day one. Number two, because we're a multi-solution company, we've had to build those abstractions from the ground up. Everything from the data layer to the common abstractions to how easy it is to plug in, such that we can unify the data in a health system and make it such that interoperability is no longer a huge problem. Other companies just don't have to do that and won't do it. They will put you in a different data model, and now moving the data between the two is going to be a problem. But since we already have that underlying design constraint, we've done that from the beginning. With LLMs, the cost of writing software has gone way down. You probably heard from Microsoft, Google, like something like 30 to 40% of their code is now generated by LLMs. This is kind of like a Moore's law moment for software itself. Like earlier, writing software used to be expensive. You need to hire a large team of developers to write and maintain that. Now the cost of generating software has gone down. So that's heavily influenced how we work with our customers. Where earlier, software used to be a one size fits all, and you have to figure out how you fit into the software product. We're much more about purpose designed software for your needs, and we are entirely orienting ourselves towards customizing our software and our applications for your use case. So it's a very different approach. It's not like, hey, here's a straitjacket, you have to figure out how to fit into it. If you want to customize it, you have to hire 100 software certified developers to work on this, and then you have to maintain it on your own. It's much more, one, the cost of software has gone way down, so we are going to customize it and deliver something that works really, really well for your use case, such that adoption is not a problem, implementation is easy, and it just works, hopefully. So that's one big thing. Like, these underlying economics of software changing have heavily influenced how we think about technology. The second thing is, we really see LLMs as not just like a tool for dictation. I think that's just a very, very early use case. What they really are to us is a layer that allows you to access any amount of data and knowledge, summarize and use it appropriately. And so we think that's going to heavily influence how clinician behavior is going to be in the next 20 years, where like, you won't have to know, for instance, the Krebs cycle off the top of your head. You won't have to know every little piece of data about the patient off the top of your head. That'll all be something an LLM uses. And an LLM will augment what a clinician does in a really, really meaningful way. It's already happening in software engineering. Like I said, most software engineering now is talking about, hey, I have this design in mind of how I want to implement this. You don't have to know the exact syntax. You don't have to know the exact edge cases to think about. The LLMs have much more knowledge and context than you ever will about that. In clinical decision making, we expect something similar, where you are paired with an AI agent, purpose trained and built on top of your clinical repository and your protocols, and it'll help you make those decisions. It'll be almost an extension and have way more access to information than you will, awareness of literature, all of that. And so designing that well with clinicians in mind is a really, really important part of our roadmap. And I think it's exciting because we need obviously to expand what clinicians are capable of. There's almost infinite demand on great healthcare. There's a limited supply of doctors. Doctors are already burnt out. And I think a future that would be exciting is where everyone has access to whatever the world's best doctor looks like. So two big things to summarize. The first is, with the cost of software going way lower, we think there's going to be much more purpose-designed, high-quality software that fits your needs versus having to be off the shelf. The second is, we expect LLMs to be a much bigger part of how clinicians operate and provide world-class care that improves quality, improves efficacy, all those things, and also makes the clinicians more excited to practice medicine. Those are trends that we think are kind of inevitable, and we want to be at the edge of those. Commure Nexus is meant to be an intimate way of actually talking about how to apply technology in healthcare. It's really easy to go to these giant conferences like HIMSS and others, where you hear these people on the stage talk at you for 4 hours about how perfect their AI strategy is and how you're behind and all you have to do is just listen to them and blah, blah, blah. Like, the devil is entirely in the details about your system is different. Your technology partners are probably different, and the adoption is never as easy as it seems, and that transformation is pretty hard. So what we're trying to do is give you a cohort, a peer group of people who've been through some of these changes, are going through some of these changes, and give you actual practical tools to actually make these changes happen. Second thing is, like, when you're just listening to people on stage, they're just going to tell you all the great things that are happening and how amazing and perfect everything is. In a smaller, intimate setting, you actually hear the warts, the things that no one wants to talk about. But that's where I think a lot of the learning, and that's where all the interesting things are. Like, why isn't every doctor using ambient in a hospital? The adoption problems are real. Why are there hallucinations still in some of these medical tools? What's hard about actually implementing technology within health systems? Because everyone knows some of these things are good, but actually, having the rubber meet the road is difficult. So that's what Commure Nexus is all about. It's like bringing together those types of conversations and making it less about lecturing you about what's great and how you should be doing it, more giving you practical tools in your toolkit to go and do it. So the TLDR of all of that is it's meant to be a conversation and a collaboration between you and other health system leaders who are going through technology transformation, and help you have real knowledge and tools to actually make these transformations happen. And I think that's only possible in a small, intimate environment like this. I hope attendees take away a sense of possibility of what's actually possible to achieve with the right technology strategy and how you can do it. 2, practical implementation ideas about how to actually make this happen versus theoretical ideas of AI is good, let's go implement AI, but here's how to actually do this step by step. And 3rd, an understanding of the risks and pitfalls. Like there's a lot of things that don't go well. There are a lot of problems that you have to be aware of. And I think the experienced leaders are the ones who are aware of that, see those coming, and learn from the other people in the room. So that's what I hope health leaders take away from this. What I hope Commure takes away from this is one, any kind of technology transformation starts with a small core group of people who are ahead of that curve, that early, disruptor mindset. I hope we find those people in this room. I hope, 2, we really understand the challenges and get deep on why is technology not necessarily serviced them as well as it should have in the past, and make sure that's a core part of our design and differentiation. And the 3rd is, long-term technology partners. Like we're not really looking for, buy this and we're out of here in like the next year. Like if you look at all our customers, they stay with us for like, 5 years, 10 years, etc. Some of our earliest customers are now 20 years into their journey with us. Those are much more interesting. If you have a long-term outlook, you can do really, really interesting things. And that's what really motivates us, not doing the 1 year, buy this AI thing and then we're out of here.